Hi all, welcome and welcome back to my channel. Today I want to share a devastating story with you out of Calcasieu Parish in Louisiana. But first I want to let you know that I don't have all the details. Police are still investigating. I wanted to cover this story because I've been watching it unfold and it has turned from what initially looked like it may have been a tragic accident to something much darker. Now, I'm not accusing anybody of anything in this case. I wasn't there and I don't know what actually happened. All I know is what I'm reading online, and it is tearing my heart out. I expect that viewers may find this video controversial depending on whether they knew the deceased man in this case or not, and how they viewed him, his family, and the subject matter in general. That's fine. I'm not afraid to be controversial. But if you come for me in the comments with accusations, rudeness, or anger, I won't post or comment. So you won't get the attention you're looking for. Why? Because whether what is unfolding is true or not, none of us know what takes place behind closed doors in someone's home. Again, I'm not accusing anybody of anything here. All I know is what I've experienced in my own life, and what I'm watching unfold in this story is all too familiar. According to the Calcasieu Parish Sheriff's Office, deputies were dispatched around 5 p.m. on September 7th to respond to a shooting in Moss Bluff. When they arrived on the scene, they found the victim, 39-year-old Andrew LaFleur III, deceased from an apparent gunshot wound to the head. Upon further investigation, deputies say they learned that an 11-year-old family member was responsible for the shooting. They say he was arrested, booked into the juvenile detention center, and charged with second-degree murder. There are no additional details at this time. All the news reports I find state the same thing. He was shot by an 11-year-old family member. That's all the information that's being reported. So, when I first read the story, of course I thought it was tragic and assumed it was probably an accident. I read hundreds of comments from people sending condolences and saying what a great guy Andrew was. I was heartbroken, not only for the victim, but for his family having to deal with not only his death, but the loss of such a young family member. Very devastating. Then I came across a post about the case in a crime group I'm in, and it broke my heart even more. It's a Facebook post from the daughter of the victim, who is also the sister of the 11-year-old charged in his death, meaning Andrew LaFleur was shot and killed by his 11-year-old son, Wes. Now, this is where people who knew or believe they knew Andrew LaFleur may not like this video anymore, and that's fine. I understand. It's going to be hard to hear and or believe, but this is what she said, and she's asking everyone to share it. So I am. Why? Because she lived it. We didn't. And she deserves to be heard. Her father was killed, and her brother's being detained. She's going through hell, and I don't believe she would have a reason to lie about what happened in that house. So I'm going to read her post. And just so you know, before you think you're hurting me by disliking this video, you're not. Disliking a video still counts as a view for the creator. All it does is tell the YouTube algorithm that you don't like videos like this, so they come up less and less in your suggestions. That's all. People don't understand how YouTube works. Just FYI, when you dislike a video, you're not hurting the creator. You're hurting yourself because you're limiting the content that's suggested to you. Okay, now to her post. She posted this on September 13th of 2020, and she started her post with hashtag #StandWithWes. She said, "As most of you know, my biological father passed away Monday, but what many of you don't know is my younger brother Wesley shot him to protect us. I was an only child till Wes and his mom came along when I was 12. Many people just saw him as a strict father because he was a veteran and as an honorable man. That is what made it so difficult when we would reach out to the police, court, or even some family members to help. The truth is, he was abusive emotionally and physically. I went through this as an only child for 12 years. It didn't just all of a sudden start one day, and as my siblings came into the picture, it just got worse. Coming from a child or an ex wife, most of the time the issue would just get brushed under the rug. Plus, the fear of what would happen to me when I spoke out also played a big part in what I said to people about what was really happening. The times that I would speak out or even confront him about me being scared, he would just get louder and more violent. I'm not going to go into detail about the abuse we went through exactly, because it is a very sensitive subject. My brother Wesley was more mature than any 11-year-old I've ever met, and he could not stand to see his family getting emotionally abused, torn down, bruised, and in constant tears anymore. Wesley, being the oldest brother, wanted nothing more than to protect his family. And on Monday, September 7th of 2020, Wesley made sure none of us would ever have to live in fear or be scared of him anymore. He protected us and risked everything he had to make sure we would all be okay in the end. My brother Wesley means more to me than life itself, and as his big sister, I will always be there to protect him. Now we no longer have to hide or be scared of speaking out. We will no longer be silenced and told he's just strict. I'm sure backlash from many of my family members will come my way, and I'll be told, how can I do this to my father? But family should always protect each other, and you never listen to our cries for help. Some people just brush them under the rug, and that is not what family does. I loved my father and I love my brother. Let that be known. Now is the time for issues like these to finally be heard and known. Not just about my family, but about thousands of kids that go through abuse. Those children never get heard and get swept under the rug like we once were. My brother is a protector, and I will always stand with Wes. For anyone who thinks that anything I just said was untrue about my father and how he treated us, please think you were not his child. You were not in our situation. You may have known him as a great person to be around, as a friendly guy. I do not know the relationship you had with him, but the same goes for you. You did not know the relationship he had with us. From the bottom of my heart, thank you to all the people that stand with my brother and stand with myself and siblings. All of the unconditional love and support we have gotten has made this time a little bit easier. May God bless you all. Please feel free to share this post, because the more people that hear the truth, the more it will help Wesley. And she ends it with hashtag #StandWithWes again. Okay, the statement she made. I do not know the relationship you had with him, but the same goes for you. You did not know the relationship he had with us. That smacked me hard, because it's the truth. The relationship that you have with someone isn't necessarily the relationship that they have with the very people they say they love, the people you think they love. None of us knows what goes on behind closed doors. I don't care how well you think you know someone. Why do I think it's so important that she's heard? Because I lived it too, and I never was. Again, I don't know what actually happened in that house. I wasn't there. But I know what it's like to have a parent act loving and kind to everyone, so everyone thinks they're a wonderful person, while they're hateful and abusive to their own children behind closed doors when no one's looking. Of course, no one's going to believe it. They've never seen that side of that person. They can't even fathom that it's possible. Well, folks, that's what abusers do. They don't do it out in the open, and they certainly aren't going to do it in front of you. They don't want anyone to see that side of them, so they keep it hidden. If you are lucky enough to have loving parents, then you have no idea what I'm talking about. If you were abused, then you do. Don't want to believe Andrew's daughter? Fine. Then I'll make you aware of a fundraiser that is going on for Wes's defense. I'll link the page in my description box if you'd like to contribute. On the page, there is a statement from a woman who appears to be Wes's grandmother. She wrote the following. 3 years ago, my stepdaughter divorced her ex-husband because he was abusive to her and her children. They have been in a custody battle for the last 3 years, where each one has the children 1 week on and 1 week off. On Monday, Labor Day, September 7th, 2020, the father was abusing Wes's two younger siblings, and he took it upon himself to protect them and shot and killed his father. Now we face a huge legal battle. Andrew LaFleur has a Facebook page under Drew LaFleur where he lists that he was a paramedic and former sergeant in the U.S. Army. I also watched a video that was posted covering an end of watch ceremony that was held in remembrance of him. It was very sad, and it appears that he was loved by many. Not much time has passed since Andrew's death, and police are still investigating. Will they ever uncover the truth behind the shooting? Who knows? Right now, all we have are family members speaking out about why it happened, and he's not here to defend himself. But if you haven't put two and two together by now, and realize that every time you hear of some horrific crime happening in someone's home, it's pretty much always followed by a string of interviews by people who knew or thought they knew the perpetrator, saying that they would have never thought that person was capable of doing something like that. We all know that. Let's stop fooling ourselves. Do we ever really know anybody? I wasn't going to cover the story until I read his daughter's statement. Then I had to cover the story. Why? Because I heard myself in her. I want to do for her what nobody ever did for me. I was mentally and physically abused by my parents, and nobody ever knew. They portrayed themselves as such kind, loving, and charitable individuals that no one would ever suspect that they would be abusive to their children. Not in a million years. So, there was no point in telling anyone. No one would have believed us, and God forbid it got back to them that we said anything. Then we would have just been asking for it. When we got old enough to fight back, the physical abuse ended, but the mental abuse continued. Want to know why you're looking at a very cool but creepy picture of a house in the woods instead of it me talking? Because I don't like to be on camera. Why? Because I was told my entire life that I'm not pretty by the very person who, if you knew her, you would have thought she was one of the nicest people you'd ever met. It was so ingrained in me as a child that now, even as an adult, if you tell me I'm pretty, I wonder why you feel the need to lie to me. If you tell me you think I'm beautiful, I know you're just being kind, but I won't believe you. You may as well just insult me. It would feel the same to me. Why? I don't know, but I'm working on it. Which, by the way, makes me perfect for YouTube, because your insults won't hurt me. I've heard it all before, and I'm way ahead of you. I just don't want to hear it anymore, because I've heard it my whole life, and now it just sounds like a broken record to me. Not fair to you, is it? You pay the price for what someone else did. But that's how abuse works. Everyone had to think I was smart, though. I had to be smart. All A's and B's, and even B's were questioned. Why? Not because she cared about my education. So she looked like she did, and she looked good for raising such a bright daughter. Yes, those grades were oh so important. They were her image. Even though behind closed doors I was told how worthless I was, how I was never going to be as smart as any of my friends, and how it didn't matter anyway because I was never going to amount to anything. But if you asked her, she was so proud of her children and how smart we were. I was to get good grades in school, but I was never to accept any reward for it because she deserved the credit, not me. I couldn't win. I used to be the queen of the spelling bee. I could spell anything. Today I can't spell crap, but that was back then. Anyway, if I won, she would say I was either showing off or I won because everyone else was nervous. If I didn't win, it was because I was stupid and worthless and not as smart as the other kids. Because I was an A student going into junior high, I was chosen for a special program for advanced students. She was so proud. I was taught sign language, and I picked it up right away, so I was chosen for the lead in a play about kids with disabilities. I was chosen to play a deaf girl because I could sign. The woman who raised me said she couldn't believe they chose me when there were actually pretty girls in the class to choose from. Then I was afraid to do it. So, I told the teacher that I didn't want to do it and she should choose someone else. She got really angry and asked me why I didn't want to do it. I told her because I wasn't pretty enough. She called me out into the hallway and proceeded to yell at me and ask me why I'd say something like that. I was so confused. Wasn't it obvious? She told me never to say anything like that about myself. She was really mad. Then she did something that was so uncomfortable to me. It still makes me cringe today, even when I think about it. Even though now I understand why she did it. She told me I was a pretty girl, and I said thank you, but I know I'm not. She said answer me right, and she said it again. I didn't know what the right answer was. She said we're not going anywhere until you answer me correctly, and she said it again. I thought I was in trouble and I started to cry. I didn't know what to say. She asked why I couldn't just say thank you. I couldn't. She said it again and again until I responded with thank you. Then, as if that wasn't bad enough, she made me look her in the eye and thank her and convince her that I believed it. It was awful. I'll never forget it. She was so angry, she called my mom and told her what happened. My mother told her that she had no idea why I did that because she always told me she was so proud of me. Lie. But that's what my teacher was told. Boy, did I get in trouble when I got home. How dare I cause trouble at school and have a teacher call home? Because nobody else is to know what happens behind closed doors at home. She was never to be thought of as anything other than the wonderful, perfect mother she was. That's how abuse works. And it stays with you. Do I think I'm ugly? No. Do I think the world thinks I am? Yep. But I'm working on it. My abusers are both gone now. My mother passed away last year. So I'm 1 year out from the abuse. Yep, it continued until the day she died. I went through periods of distancing myself from the abuse and not speaking to her, but the damage was already recorded in my head and still lingers today. Even though it's been a year since she passed, I've never cried. There was nothing to cry over. The abuse was over. No tears for me. After she passed, the strangest thing happened to us. Family and friends, church friends, because she was a devout Catholic, neighbors, everybody told us how sorry they were for us to have lost such a sweet and loving mother. Even aunts, uncles, cousins, everyone. They were all so sorry for our loss. She was so sweet and kind. Because she was to them. That was the version of her that they knew. Just like Andrew LaFleur's daughter said, the relationship they had with my mother was not the relationship she had with us. I spent days saying thank you to the many people who were kind enough to extend their condolences for our loss. But I was never thanking them for thinking she was so loving and kind. I was thanking them for letting me know the side of her that she never showed to me, and how far she actually went to convince everyone that she was someone she wasn't. At the funeral, the priest spoke so highly of her and how selfless and loving she was. It was hard to listen to. Then, as though he had ever met us and knew what he was talking about, he turned to us and told everyone what a wonderful, loving, and caring mother she was, and how her family was everything to her, and how what a loss it was that we were going to be without her. At that moment, my brother and I both leaned into each other and said, "Are we even at the right funeral? Who the hell is he talking about?" Obviously, someone we, her children, never knew. Thank you for sticking with me through this video. I appreciate it. If I receive any updates on this case, I'll let you know. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you on my next video.